Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Lori. I think I got this mic thing down pat now. I wanted to talk to you about you not being your mistakes. They do not define you. They just simply are what they are. That's the world of being a human being. And you get yourself caught up because you get caught up in thinking that the mistake is you, is your identity. The reality is it's not. It was just a moment in time. You did what you could with what you had. And maybe you didn't have a lot. Maybe you had to do it. And man, maybe you really hurt people. Maybe you did something in it. Well, you didn't really carry that capability, but let's say they were really hurt by your behavior. And I mean, really upset. Well, beating yourself up and throwing yourself on the hill on the sword does not change that narrative. It was a mistake. Now, you keep repeating the same mistake over and over again. That's the definition of insanity. And you can't worry about the mistakes that other people make. If you're holding somebody's feet to the flame because they hurt you or they did this and you're not releasing it and you're holding them there, it's not going to give you the outcome that you're seeking. So remember, understand, and I say this and it's so important, and I will repeat this until you really accept it. Failure and mistakes are beautiful, beautiful things because that's where we grow. Right? There is no scenario where you don't fail and you don't make mistakes and then you're successful. It doesn't exist. And that's where you have to be careful of the perfectionism, because perfectionism does not exist. Perfectionism is rooted in insecurity, and there's no golden standard for perfection. So what's perfect to you might be not perfect for me. Really think about that. I love an October Northeast day, high of 62, overcast, very small light breeze, crisp smell, fire going, nighttime around 58, 57. That's a perfect day for me. And you might be like, brr, I would rather be at the beach. Okay, that's a perfect day for you. It doesn't make it wrong. So the mistakes, what you think is a mistake, may just be something that you're like, okay, it was a lesson I had to learn. But again, throwing yourself on this sword and beating yourself up, guess what that does? Nothing. Your self-loathing and yourself beating yourself up and yelling at yourself and screaming at yourself and doing all of those things, that does not provide you at all with anything positive. Now, if you look at it and you say, hey, you know what? This doesn't serve, and I really messed up. This doesn't serve somebody. It doesn't serve me. I messed up. Okay, cool. If it warrants an apology, and I say if because sometimes it might not, but if it warrants an apology, you say it one time, you don't go on an apology tour, and every time you see that person, hey man, I'm really sorry that happened 6 months ago. Okay, why are we still there? Like, you being a serial apologizer doesn't do anything to anybody. And beating yourself up, because sometimes you're a human being, and I know you like to think that you're not supposed to make a mistake. And the reality is maybe somebody who was raising you or who was around you or who you're in a relationship with told you that you weren't allowed to make a mistake. It's a reflection of them. To simply believe that you will live your life in a steady up progression and nothing's going to go awry is not something that is going to be sustainable for you. And I want you to keep very clear with that thought, because when you fear the successful, people fear that too. When you fear the failure and you fear mistakes, you will not find the opportunities in which you seek. So now let's say you make a mistake. Let's say you start a new job, you're like really doing this, and you make a mistake, and you're like, egads, oh God, that was a bad mistake. Okay. Well, sitting up till 4 o'clock in the morning doesn't change the narrative. Replaying the situation and saying, if I would have done this differently, okay, well, so now going forward. Why can't you just be like, okay, it kind of sucked. It is what it is. Let me process it. If it's something you have to make amends for, do. If it isn't, you let it go. But and again, I'm going to flip that. If it's somebody around you that made a mistake or failed in some sort of way, and you're holding them accountable to this left and right, you need to stay in your lane. If it doesn't serve you and you can't let it go, you need to distance from that person or that situation. But to expect in some way them to keep like reliving it and replaying it, there's no scenario that's just going to fix things and make it better. That's the accountability of acceptance for self. You must have accountability of acceptance. Things are what they are. And no matter how many times you story play them in your head and you become like a screenplay writer and you're ready to write a movie because you've literally played the entire dialogue out and how this would have happened. And no, you don't know that to be true. Well, my life would have been different. Yeah, that doesn't mean I've been better. I mean, yeah, I'm sure it could have been. You don't know that. Now you're fortune telling. But you're fortune telling not even like you're looking in the future, you're fortune telling in the back and saying that if this would have happened, I would be okay. You don't know that to be facts. That's your ego. So going back to the mistake piece of that, you have to realize that doesn't make you a weak person. That makes you somebody who's learning something. The very first time you learn to drive, oh God, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. I'm 51. I still make some mistakes driving, little things. I'll roll through a stop sign slowly, or, like, I mean, I know what I'm doing, but it's like, hey, my bad. Accidentally cut somebody off the other day. I was like, ooh, my bad. Like, I'm sorry. That was a mistake. It's okay. You're not perfect. And think about your trajectory of when you're on your healing journey. When you're on your healing journey, and you're always going to have that aha moment, you are going to feel like you turned a corner. You're going to be like, oh my God, this is great. I am really killing it. I am killing the game today. It is amazing. Well, and then something triggers you tomorrow, right? You allow something to trigger you and you go back to some reverted behavior. Now you throw yourself on the sword again and you go, oh my God, I can't believe this. I'm such a loser. Why couldn't I do this? Why? It took you X amount of years to get here. If you think for 5 minutes that you're just going to start a healing journey, watch a few videos, do some sessions, and all of a sudden you're not going to make a mistake again and you're not going to go backwards, it's not going backwards. It's going back there to have more tools so you know what to do the next time going forward. Stop beating yourself up. Stop thinking that you are supposed to be flawless, because that doesn't exist. You're striving for something that is not real. There is no perfection. And if there was, and you were perfect, you would be lonely. Nobody would want to be around you. You wouldn't understand anybody. You would be so tone deaf if you were perfect. Nobody would want to be around you. You literally would be isolated. So don't think that you're less than because you make a mistake. No, oh, good, I've learned something. And you keep it moving. And don't throw that on other people either. Don't throw that on other people and be like, well, why'd they do that? That's a mistake. Stay in your lane. Seriously. And check yourself, because I promise you that the more you try to avoid these failures and these mistakes, the less you're going to have growth and the more frustrated that you're going to become. And you're going to become frustrated because you're going to feel stuck. And then you're going to feel stuck because you're going to see everybody else around you living, and you may say, that's a mistake, and why are they doing this, and why are they doing that? And that's a good gauge for you. If you catch yourself judging other people and why are they doing this and why isn't this happening and this is dumb and that's wrong and all that stuff, that's a really big glaring spotlight that says, hey man, you're in your ego, and that's unhealed. Because you don't judge a person. You don't judge their journey. You don't judge their mistakes. You are not your mistake. It's simply something that you learned. So you have to, that's a mental reframe, right? And in order to mentally reframe something, to sort of rewire your thought process, is to give it the alternative. Much like if you say, well, what if this is what if this negative things happens? What if these happen? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if it doesn't? I mean, yeah, but it also could not. What if I fail? What if I fly? What if you fail? What if you succeed? And failure is part of succession. So, okay, if you fail, great. Now we know what works, what doesn't, let's keep it moving. Don't make things so rigid and black and white. There's so many, there's way more than 50 shades of gray, but let's go with the 50. There's tons of it there for you. Tons of it. But you have to be willing to embrace the unknown, and the unknown is where things are beautiful. Things are beautiful in the unknown. There's so many opportunities that come about. And are not so great things going to happen? Yeah, sometimes they do, but you survived 100% of them. So to think that you can prevent will also, I mean, do things like, if you want to eat healthier, you want to do that to prolong things, that's fine. but don't do so in a state of fear of making a mistake, failing, and not knowing what the unknown is. So the next time you make a mistake, and you will accept it for what it is. It's just simply a lesson.